8. Pop Girlies, welcome back.
I'm drinking my latte.
I get a double shot. It goes through my body, and you know I'm
And you know
satisfied.
I'm satisfied. And all the acquaintance be forgot.
Oh,
Oh,
Because
right.
it's the end of the year. Happy New
Oh, right,
Year.
right. Cool.
I know. It's like the Dead Space. It's like Dead
Happy
Space.
Nye. Happy Bill Nye.
Happy Phil Night.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. We should do. Does he have an album? We should do that.
Mm, no, but you guys remember when he was in Oppenheimer?
What?
Huh?
Wasn't he in Oppenheimer?
No.
What are you talking about?
I
Did I say a
love
different
the
movie?
I love the revisionist history though, like a world
Wait,
where
he
he
was
was in
just in
it.
a movie,
Okay.
and I thought it was Oppenheimer.
No.
Oh,
What was it?
y'all, embarrassing. He was in Mank.
So famously not Oppenheimer.
So
Oh
famously
my
not
God.
Oppenheimer. I don't know, maybe just because he's science, I thought he would be an Oppenheimer.
Well, we
Wow.
have Batty Oppenheimer number one head supreme fan club member
Yeah,
here
literally.
with us, so we should
Maria.
have
hmm
known.
Imagine though if, because you know how Josh Peck was the guy in Oppenheimer who actually pushed the button on the Trinity
Right.
test.
Yeah.
Imagine if that was Bill Nye though, like the
Yeah, would
science of it
well
all.
the film would have won 15 Oscars.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
have
it would have
swept.
swept
More than it already did.
more than it did.
Wait, did it win screenplay?
No.
Okay, good. Shouldn't have.
No, it didn't. It didn't win screenplay because it was an adapted. So
Oh
American
yeah, American Fiction one should have been.
Poor Things.
Oh, Poor Things. Yeah, sorry, should have been Poor Things.
Yeah.
Wait, I forget. Obviously, Poor Things is adapted.
Yeah.
Duh.
I mean, at the Levi Oscars, Poor Things won every category it was eligible for, and then all the ones that it wasn't eligible for as well.
Right.
It
Yep.
won Best Animated Short. It won Best
Documentary
Documentary
feature.
Short Subject.
Yep.
Foreign
Right.
language film.
Yeah, everything. Literally everything.
Well, ba is a foreign language,
It's a foreign
so
language.
Yeah.
Literally is a foreign language. And also she speaks French.
yep. Okay. Uh, so Levi, do
So
you want to explain what we're doing?
yeah, so everybody, welcome to a special bonus episode. We haven't done one since Harlequin was released. So it's super fun, kind of a deviation from the typical pop girly structure. And we're super excited to be giving you end of year review. So we are going to be sharing our top five favorite songs and our top five favorite albums, as well as an honorable mention. So something that we wanted to mention and highlight, but just couldn't find a spot for in our lists. Something that I want to note is we wanted to highlight as many artists as possible, and so we made a rule that we can only mention an artist once. So if an artist appears on any of our album lists, they're not going to appear on our song lists, and vice versa. So this is so we can talk about a whole bunch more music because this has been really such a wonderful year for music and such a year of variety, so many amazing stories happening and narratives happening. So yeah, it's just super excited to kind of celebrate all the music moments from 2024 that made us happy or made us cry or moved us or whatever. So we are going to go in Drew Fork, Maria Spoon, and Levi Knife order. And we're going to start with our honorable mention. So again, this could be either an album or a song that we wanted to highlight. Um, Drew. And also the other rule for this as well, for just for honorable mentions, is it could be anything that we listened to for the first time in 2024, something that defined it. It doesn't have to be released in 2024. For our songs and our albums, obviously it has to be released in 2024. We're only talking about things that were released this past year. But for honorable mentions, since it's a special little category, we can talk about anything that moved us this year. So, Drew Fork, do you want to
Yeah.
puncture it and get us started?
Yeah. So my honorable mention for the year was it's an album and it came out this year and it was something that I really enjoyed. I just could find a place for it on I guess I I admire it more as an album. There are lots of great songs on it obviously because I had to have liked it, but I couldn't find a song that I wanted to highlight from it and it also just couldn't crack my top 5 albums. But It's a pop girly and it's Radical Optimism by Dua Lipa.
Hmm.
Loved Radical Optimism. It just, I think, um, it didn't have the like lasting impact with me like throughout the. I listened to it a lot in the summer. Didn't really make it with me in the fall and the winter as much as I would have hoped to get into that top five. But I really liked it. I think it's Dua's best album too. Um, T.
Ooh,
Oh, you
that
do?
is
You like it
tea.
more than Future
I do,
Nostalgia?
yeah, I do.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's more consistent, to be honest. But yeah, there's just so many good releases this year, and I feel like the album kind of flopping in, success and commercially, I think didn't really, I think she didn't really let it have a longer impact. I don't think she really put a lot of energy into like promoting it after it flopped. Um, so maybe if she would have, it would have been better. But yeah. But I wanted to mention it here because I know it's probably not going to end on a lot of like popular end of year lists. But yeah, and I'm really excited. Me and Maria are going to the tour in like 4 years from now. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how the album translates to a live performance because when we went to the Future Nostalgia tour, it was just so like the production of it was just so saturated in the aesthetic of Future Nostalgia like so deeply. So I'm very curious how something
yeah,
like
me
Radical
too.
Optimism is going to translate to the stage.
Yeah,
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew Fork. Now we're gonna dip into some honorable mentions with Maria Spoon.
Yes. Well, I'm very excited that we're doing honorable mentions because just a huge thing that I track throughout the year in general is the new music that I listen to. So every year for the past couple years, I've just made like a 12 by 12 grid and I fill it out with each new album I listen to, like older albums plus new releases.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and I've almost filled it out all the way. I literally have it filled out except for one square. So that's 144 albums. So I just have one
Wow.
more. I have one
Do you
more
know
to listen to.
do you know which one you're gonna listen to before the year ends?
No, I still have to figure it out. But I have to do that. So yeah, a huge part of the year for me is just like listening to um just new music in general. I love tracking it. But for me, I think one of the new albums, or not, I guess not new, but an album for me that I listened to for the first time this year that wasn't actually released in 2024 that just had a big impact on what I was listening to for the rest of the year in general was Preacher's Daughter by Ethel Cain. I listened to it
Yes.
for the
that's a good
first time.
one.
Yeah, I listened to it for the first time this year. I listened to it in March, like at the start of March, and then it was like a couple weeks before Cowboy Carter came out. So it was like a very crazy mindset for me being like very, very heavy in like the Ethel Cain lore and then going to like, okay, now we're still Americana, cool, and then tr making sure I ended up in more of a happier mindset with Cowboy Carter. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, listened to Ethel Cain for the first time this year, then just went through the rest of her discography the rest of the year following that. But yeah, was very excited to add that to my repertoire. So excited.
We need to do an episode for that album for sure.
Yeah, we needed to especially before the new project comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I listened to it like a week after you did for the first time because you were so invested in it, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
finally
And
do
Drew
it."
also
And I
listened to
listened
it
to it
for
on
the
a
first
plane.
time, yeah, on a plane.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Would not
Yeah.
recommend.
Well, yeah,
Mm-mm.
that's right. Because I think that like Maria, I think didn't like we discover that we both loved that album, and then Drew listened to it. Is that the
Yeah, I
trajectory?
think that's how it went.
Well, I think I texted you guys being like, guys, I'm starting Preacher's Daughter for the first time.
Oh, and then I think I had already listened and like
I had
loved it.
already
Totally.
known
Yes.
American Teenager, I think, and then I just
Yeah.
didn't listen to the rest of it. Because it's kind of like it's a little daunting because you
It
know
is
it's
an
gonna be
intimidating project.
really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
But
like,
also all the songs are so long too, and yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But
and
And
it's
like
so
obviously
good.
obviously it's
it's
not a light
yeah.
listen.
No,
Yeah.
no.
And like we can talk about it more when we talk about the album
Yeah,
on
we got
an
to do
entire
an
episode.
episode.
But like, yeah, I mean, I'll just say, I mean, I grew up very much a scaredy cat, and I would like to say that I'm a little bit less of a scaredy cat now. But genuinely, after I listened to it, I had a hard time sleeping for like a week.
Oh my God.
Let's just say
Oh,
that.
Yeah, would not have. I wish I wouldn't have listened to it on a plane.
Yeah, that I can't think of a worse thing for you specifically to do.
And on a plane
Yeah.
with turbulence as well. Like
Oh my God.
no beverage service.
That's like listening to Preacher's Daughter in solitary confinement.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Like, oh
What
my
was
God.
happening?
Okay. Okay, Levi, what's your
Yeah,
honorable
Levi.
mention? Levi
Yeah,
Knife.
so I think the biggest kind of story in my music journey this year is something that I've talked about on the pod before, but it was just like too big for me not to mention, and it has been this like Madonna renaissance for me. I mean, Madonna's always been an artist that like I've loved, and I've talked about that at length, but this year is really when like it cemented like actually like she's like one of my favorite artists of all time, and like she's probably like number two. It was such an astonishing like moment of realization, and like just getting so enriched in her as an artist. I just find her to be so incredibly inspiring, kind of in every single way. For Christmas, my mom got me this biography called Madonna, A Rebel Life by Mary Gabriel, who's like a very famous biographer, and it's already so good. And like, there's actually, wait, I want to read you, I have it right next to me, and I want to read you this quote from the prologue because I think it like, out of everything I've ever read, I think this sums up Madonna like maybe more than she's ever been summed up before. It's okay, I can't find the specific moment, so I'm just gonna paraphrase. It's like she wanted to be loved, but she wanted to be heard more. And I thought that was like so fascinating. Um because she's always been like somebody who's like sought attention and sought the spotlight and sought adoration, but ultimately before that, her biggest priority is speaking her mind. And she's always been somebody who is just 1000% herself in every single way. Even as she changes and reinvents herself and sheds skin and shows us new versions of her. She just is like, I mean, she's Madonna for a reason. So I want to highlight a song because we've already talked about a lot of Madonna music on here, and I think she's my most hot tracked artist. But I wanted to highlight a song from an album that we hadn't mentioned yet. And this was like the soundtrack of my beginning of the year and has just like stayed there kind of all throughout the year. And it's Sorry from Confessions on a Dance Floor. And
Yes.
oh my God, now that is a song. That's what we call music. That's what we call music, volume 1000, because
Now
now
that's
that's
what
what we
we
Yeah.
call
call
music.
music.
Like that song is like, oh my God.
Lo siento.
Oh, it's
Perdóneme.
so good. Like that is pop music. That
It's so
it's
good.
it's just like it's everything. I've still never heard it on a dance floor, and like I can't tell you what I would do to hear that on a dance floor. I mean, I think I would levitate to the freaking Jupiter. I mean, it would just be
Jupiter.
Jupiter. Wait,
Jupiter.
I think did I reference that? I referenced that a few episodes ago in Chromatica.
Chromatica, yeah.
Chromatica. Um,
Chromatica.
but yeah, so I've just been so blessed by Madonna this year, and uh I've just been so inspired by her. I felt so seen by her. I felt so empowered by her, and yeah, Sorry is a great representation of that.
Oh, so slay.
Amaze.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's get into the official lists. So
Yes.
we're
So
gonna start with
songs.
songs, and we're gonna do them all five per fork, spoon, knife, and per utensil. And we're gonna go from five to one. So I think Drew, take the
Yeah.
stage.
So this was actually the number five song was the hardest spot for me because it was like the last thing that I completed. Um, so yeah, this was a hard spot, and I landed with this song. It's by an artist that I've liked, but I haven't really loved all of their things. That I've progressively gotten more interested in her projects. This one, I loved the album that it was on when it first came out, and it's progressively just gotten a little lower on the list. But this song I think is probably like in her top three in her discography, and it's Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish. I really like that song.
Slay.
Yeah. I think it's
Very
like, yeah,
well, very interesting to hear that the album has decreased for you
yeah, for
because
sure.
I am not a fan. of that album, and I felt like the only person alive when it was
Yeah,
released
I mean,
who
I still
didn't get
think it's
it.
good. I still think it's good. I just with the other releases, I was because when I was making the list for both of our albums and songs, I was also modifying my like albums ranking for the whole year, and I was kind of like going through and comparing it to each of the ones that I was lowering it against, and I was like, yeah, no, this is kind of bottom bottom 10 for me. But I still
Birds of a
really liked
Feather is
it.
undeniable, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like it is a classic.
Yeah. So that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to highlight it. So yeah.
Okay, number four. Come on, give it to us.
Oh wait, so I'm going five, four, three, two, one.
Yeah, we're doing all.
All
Yeah,
Yeah.
four. Okay, okay, okay. So my number four is it might be a shock of how low it is for a lot of people, but it's Nirvana by Katy Perry. 143. I bet you all are shocked. It did not make my top five albums.
I am shocked. I'm gagged, actually. I'm
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah, it
Wait,
didn't make it.
do we need to tell the globe how many times you listen to Women's World? Or are we gonna wait for that? Okay,
Oh,
moving on.
so we have to tell.
We're in the top point
I
zero
was
zero one
It
percent.
was 001. Yeah, it was 0.001. And I think it was 279 times.
You deserve some kind of accolade
Oh, I got from Queen Katie
from Miss
Cat.
Hudson.
Yeah. But Nirvana is definitely my favorite from 143. The album, unfortunately, it didn't hit as hard as we were all hoping. I still really liked it, obviously, but it didn't crack my top five. But the song is undeniable. It's amazing. And like Levi was sorry, I needed to hear it on the dance floor. Um, it's so good. So yeah, hopefully in 2025 we will see Miss Perry if she wants to announce US dates for the Lifetimes tour, then
She's
we'll go.
she's not doing that. She's announcing every country besides
Every country.
America.
So
When she
yeah.
says Women's World, America is not included in that world.
No, it isn't because Hillary lost in 2016. She
Well,
hasn't recovered.
yeah. Well, and she's waiting because Pop Girlies Stadium
Hasn't been
will
built
need to be
yet.
the first
It
day.
Yeah.
hasn't been
Yeah.
built yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So my number three is also kind of a shock for me that this landed here. Um, but it's the one album that if we went back and ranked it again, I would rank it way differently with how I've just really come around to it. But the song I wanted to highlight, it's not even my favorite song on the album, but I just think it's a really good representation of like my coming around to this artist, and it's Sympathy is a Knife by
Mm.
Charlie. It's probably my number two on the album after Girl So Confusing, but I don't know. I really love this song, and then I've also like come around majorly to the remix as well. So I thought it would be kind of cool to highlight that as my number three.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I love this one. And yeah, I've really come around to Brat too as an album. There are still songs that I don't like. Um, so I wanted to put it on my songs list rather than my top five albums. Um, but yeah, that's
The
my
way that
number
you were
three.
leading up to it sounded like you could have been talking about Harlequin.
Maria, you're the only
Oh,
person that thought
girl.
that.
You're the
It
only
was
one.
so
I wasn't
obviously
thinking
Brat.
that. No, I know. I wasn't thinking that in a serious way, but I was like, LOL, what if?
What if When the Saints is my number
Yeah,
three?
When the Saints, his favorite song of all time.
God. Um, okay, so my number two is an artist that I've loved forever. Um, Kind of my first dip into stan culture was loving this artist, and she's had like a great year both in music and acting. But this song ruined my life. And it's We Can't Be Friends by Ariana.
Yeah,
Loved Eternal Sunshine, but We Can't Be Friends. We can't be friends. Um, so yeah, love that one.
that's another
Yeah,
undeniable. It's just like, I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoyed a lot of Eternal Sunshine. I don't get the hype that it has amongst a lot of gay people, but We Can't Be Friends is like We
yeah,
Can't Be Friends is very close to making my list. It's just
yeah,
it's excellent.
yeah. So yeah, Love Miss Ariana. Love the year that she's had. Maybe she'll get an Oscar
Yeah, that's kind of crazy that she might win it all.
for
We need to
acting.
ask, we need to ask Forrest what they think about
Oh
Ariana getting an
God,
Oscar.
Oh
Forrest.
my God, Forrest got banned. Forrest, my foe on on my awards forum.
The Levi troll.
That my troll who hates me. He got banned. He got banned because he was being crazy.
Thank God.
Was it after the Demi Moore poster fiasco?
Yeah, yeah. He made a very
Well, girl, he'll be back next week as Meadow.
not
So just you wait.
he just made some not tasteful comments that the
Yeah.
insanity kind of,
Yeah.
I think, went from entertaining to, oh, this is actually not good. You need a timeout. And he said he was going to leave if Demi Moore did not win an award at the Los Angeles Film Critics, and she did
Girl,
not.
she lost.
But he stayed. She didn't even get a runner-up mention, or did she?
I don't.
Actually, I think she
I
did
know
get a.
she didn't
I
win,
think she did
but
get a runner-up mention, actually, but she didn't win.
well,
Um,
well,
Wow, at least be true to your word.
yeah,
Like,
I
come
know,
on.
I know. So he got punished. But yeah, okay. Give us
okay,
your
my
number
number
one.
one. So, um, yeah, this is an artist I've loved forever, and this song is like maximum ascension into all planets of the universe. It's a song by Gracie Abrams, and it's Us, featuring Taylor Swift.
Mm, I love that. That's your number one.
Yep.
Oh, that's so good. That
Yep. And I'm just counting Gracie as the artist of the song. I'm just gonna say that
okay.
because that's what it is.
That's what it is.
So don't get
That
mad,
is
Levi.
correct.
Just
I
wait for the future.
I'm not getting mad. I
Oh,
literally I'm not getting mad at all.
Okay. Because girl,
Oh, I know.
we're
I know.
about to be tortured. It's
I know
okay.
you're a member. I know you're a senior member. You're the treasurer.
But yeah, Us, the Bridge of Us, the pain of the rain of the
The
flame
flame
of.
of,
That
yeah.
is there's nothing better than that,
Well, we also have to
unfortunately.
talk about Levi's favorite lyric from the second verse, which is it felt like something old, like something holy, like souls bleeding. Like who writes? Well, I mean,
Taylor Swift writes
the
it.
great thing about us is that you can tell which lines Gracie wrote and which lines Taylor wrote. And all
Yeah.
the great lines are the Taylor lyrics.
Oh,
And that's not Gracie
well,
Shade because Gracie's a phenomenal songwriter, but it's like,
okay, okay.
but like, I mean, the rain of the pain of the flame of like who came up with that?
Yeah.
Or
That is like one of the best lyrics I've ever like seen ever.
or
Like
like the
it
video,
that is
which
insane.
that video of them writing the song, which shows Taylor doing a curse or a miracle, hearse or an oracle. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
excellent.
that
Love that choice.
like and the album was such a grower for me. Obviously it's not on my albums list, The Secret of Us, because we can only name the artist once. But like if we ended the year, it would probably be like my number four album of the year. Um, but for the sake of this video, she tops my songs list. So
wow.
yeah. So yeah, love Grace Abrams, and I've loved her since like 2020. So y'all who are throwing me out of the pre-sale codes need to realize where you came from.
Hey, you went. I didn't get to go. You went.
Girl, I know, and I had to get like resale.
Yeah, and I can't wasn't gonna do that. But and I have loved her. I mean, I was a hater at first, but I've loved her since
You
2021.
were
I'm
hater,
above
yeah.
the bandwagoners.
Yeah, you are way above
I'm
bandwagoners.
way above the bandwagoners. Okay, thank you so much. That I think that's a
Yes.
great list, actually.
Yeah.
And there were
Thank
some
you.
surprising mentions. Like,
Were you
Yes.
guys shocked? What were you shocked by?
well, kind of everything. I mean, I was surprised that Katie's not on your albums. I'm shocked that Charlie got a mention. Uh, I wasn't expecting us to be your number one.
Oh,
I also wasn't expecting any mention of Billy on either list for some
Yeah,
reason.
I
oh,
kind of wasn't either.
oh,
So that's actually great.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to think more into terms of like the albums in my top. I kind of went top 10 albums, and then the the ones where a song jumps out even more than the album, I wanted to put on the songs list rather.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
don't know how you guys thought of it, but that's kind of what I did.
It's
So
interesting. It was kind of you had to be a bit strategic when I was a bit
yeah,
strategic when making these
but I
lists.
like that we're doing it this way um, because then you can highlight more, and there's like the lower songs on my albums list are albums that like are barely getting in my top 10 of the year,
Yeah.
but since we're able to highlight songs, it's like so much better, I think.
Yeah, agree. Agree.
Yeah.
Okay, Maria Spoon.
Oh my gosh, yay. Well, okay, so just to start off, I feel like so weird about my top five songs list because I'm just such an album listener, as I've said before. So like so much of my top songs of the year come from my top five albums. But again, it's a cool exercise in like, okay, what else have I listened to that isn't just, X, Y, and Z albums. So yeah, and just to say too, like I've had such a year with pop music this year in general. I mean, obviously we had such an abundance of albums that came out this year. So tried to just find the things that like kind of fell through the cracks. So yeah, I this list just makes me feel kind of funny, but we'll just get right into it. But also, I wanted to kind of frame this list from like, okay, what songs was it that when they came out, I just had to listen to it at least 20 times in a row, that it was like I was so excited for the song to be out and all that. And I think all of these fit that criteria, which I love. So,
I wonder what's gonna be your number one.
Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna be.
yeah. Yeah. It's a complete mystery, but
It's gonna
let's
be
get
Tortured
into it.
Poets Department title track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Or Florida. Maybe you've come around.
It's gonna be fine. Absolutely.
You
So
couldn't
let's
even
get
say
into
that with a straight face.
it. Yeah.
He
Oh my
goes, it's
God.
gonna be
It's
Yeah,
gonna be
she can't even
Florida.
say the state.
So yeah. Yep. It's on the list. I'll just say that. I'm just kidding. Okay. So
she
my
goes,
number five.
Alabama's on the list.
Okay. Okay. Number five. Number five is Drums of Death by FKA Twigs.
Hell yeah.
So good. I was so excited for it to come out. I mean, obviously we already knew it was gonna come out because it was in the music video, but was so excited and I haven't heard something like that in so long. And for me, it's just so infectious. So love that song so much. And I'm very excited for next month when His Show comes out.
Wait, Levi, have you listened to Drums of Death, the intro, and then immediately went to listen to the intro of Eden by Sarah Bareilles?
Yeah, you told it's crazy. I love
It's
how
crazy.
well, I
Everyone
love
do
how
that.
that is
Everyone
the
do that.
reason why you came around on the song as well.
Yes. Yeah.
It's Sarah Bareilles coded.
Updating,
Yeah, it's
updating.
you're the only person who's compared FK
They
Twigs to Sarah
literally are the
Bareilles.
exact same. Like I would listen to the intro of Drums of Death and do that. Let me paint a picture for you, and I'll have to teach you to see it.
Oh my God.
Well, it's so funny because Maria's famous Eden hater.
Wait, really? Was Eden your
Eden was her
me?
me.
So we're even now.
Yeah, she's the serpent
Well,
in the tree.
sure. I'm not keeping score.
Okay,
Love.
give us your
Token on the
four.
air.
So number four is going to be he didn't release a new album this year per se, but girl, the droplets he was releasing this year, it was like, girl, we get that the Unreal Unearth is unending, but it has to end at some point. So I think he's finally ended it.
And
But
touring next year.
well, so far he's only doing Summerfest.
Okay.
Which like I would be surprised. I mean, I don't know. He's been touring like crazy over the last like 3 years, so I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he added more dates to what he was doing next year. But it's like, sister,
Should
please
we do a
take a
Pop
break.
Girlies meet and greet
Well, yes, we should.
at
So my top,
Hosier at Summerfest in Milwaukee?
we're like, hey, can we interview you? And he's like, oh, who are you? But my top four song is Too Sweet by Hosier. So it's like, I mean, like that song is if it's the closest thing to Hosier doing like, I'm gonna make like a bubblegum pop song. And it just stuck with me. And I didn't really get tired of it, even though I've heard it 10 billion times.
And it's so cool that he got another huge commercial hit after
Yeah.
Take Me to Church. Because he, for a while to me, he seemed like an artist that had that, like, kind of initial mainstream success and then just wasn't able to, like, transition into a mainstream artist, but, like, had this, like, great cult following. And so
Yeah.
I feel like it's very rare for an artist like that to have another smash hit. And honestly, Too Sweet kind of a bigger song than Take Me to Church because it topped the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah.
So it's just so cool to see an artist like Hozier have a number one song.
Yeah. So yeah, so slay. Love him. My number three song is I think what most people would consider the biggest song of the year in general. And I feel like this is one of the first times that I've like not only enjoyed the most popular song of the year, but I haven't gotten tired of it at all. I think I've mentioned that before when we talked about this album, but I love this song still so much. And I did it, I had a performance to it in my dance class, which I loved so much.
And she was so
And
good.
so
Yeah, she
good.
slayed.
So it's Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. I still really love it. It didn't crack my top five songs on Spotify Wrapped. It was six. So I
Wait, that's
listened to
kind
it
of
quite a bit.
shocking. Because
Yeah.
you probably listened to it so much because were dancing to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
also why, like, well, I guess I wouldn't say why, but like I listened to Rain on Me a lot more this year than I think I would have initially because I had to dance to it as well.
Right.
So yeah. So Espresso, love. My number two song is going to be one of my favorite bands that did release an album this year, but in my eyes, it like is kind of a flop, Tina, in relation to their other albums. Their album that they released before this one, is my favorite by them, and it's just hard to compare it to this last one because like it's just not the same vibe and it's a lot more mellow, but whatever. Still really great, and I saw them live this year for the first time, which was such a cool experience. But the song is called A Love International, and it's by the band Krungbin, who makes kind of more like indie rock, psychedelic kind of songs. And they're not too lyric heavy. A lot of them are actually pretty much instrumental. The song is instrumental and it has such a cool build up. But I love their music so much. It's so cool for just like background to life or also to help you be more productive with work. Like I listen to them all the time while I work. So love them so much and so grateful that I got to see them live this year. I saw them in the summer at the Salt Shed in Chicago. So love them. So that's my number two song. And then, if you can believe, my number one song is obviously going to be Disease by Lady Gaga. Um, and as we know, it was released like mid-October. And on my Spotify Wrapped, I managed to get it to the number two spot on my top songs of all year, of the entire year. So
What
I
was
put
your
in the
number
work.
one?
We'll get there. I'll
Oh,
say it later. I'll say it
okay.
later. But yeah, so I got it to number two, which I surprised myself even with that. So yeah, put in the work, but love it. I also just I kind of love that we also still at the end of almost the end of 2024 that we still know absolutely nothing about LG7, which is coming out sometime in February. I just love that it's like, oh, I still know absolutely nothing and it's all gonna be a surprise. So yeah, very excited to learn more about it. But Disease, Song of the Year.
Do you do you have a theory of why she's not?
No, I honestly haven't been thinking about it that much, but I'm just kind of reveling in the fact that there's still so much to come.
Yeah. Well, I was at first I was like, oh, she's trying to wait till after the Grammys when like Die with a Smile and like leave that. But now she's saying the Die with a Smile is on
Is on the album.
LG7,
Yeah,
which
she
is
said it's on.
So crazy.
so crazy.
I
I
mean, it,
thought
But
it
we'll
is
see.
crazy.
her answer, like in that interview about why it's on, is so funny. It's like, I love all kinds of music. She
I
also has
mean,
a,
it's
she has a
it's
great
not.
answer in
Sorry.
that interview too about the reason why she decided to smoke a cigarette in that video and how it was subversive, which is like
Yeah.
quintessential Gaga because it's just like
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, I don't know, it seems to me, I'm like, I don't know if this was an initial
Definitely not,
intention for
right?
it to be on the album, but it isn't unlike a Gaga album for songs that sound polar opposites of each other to be on a Gaga
Yeah.
album. So it's like that's not new, that isn't anything new, but it is kind of weird that it's like all of a sudden on the
Yeah.
album. So,
Yeah.
and then I
Okay,
love
cool.
the day that came out was so funny though because everyone on like Gaga Stan Twitter was like, "Wow, LG7 already has over 1 billion
Billion
streams."
streams.
So yeah.
Yeah, she definitely wanted to hit on the album for sure. But
Yeah.
like I'm interested to see like if it fits. You
Yeah.
know, like if it yeah.
So
I'm really
yeah.
interested.
Go Gaga capitalism.
Okay,
Okay, Levi.
are we ready for a knife?
Yar.
Yes.
So it's actually interesting. So after all of your both of your songs lists, we have no crossover. There's an artist crossover, I believe, but no song is getting a mention on multiple lists, which I think is really cool. It highlights that there was so much great music this year.
I'm so shocked that Nirvana's not on yours.
Yeah, I know. It's it's frightening. Okay, so my number five has been my favorite story in pop music this year. Um, we are going to be talking about this artist very, very soon. And this song to me defined 2024 in so many ways, and that is Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan. Uh,
Yes.
always so
That was my
wonderful.
number six
Yeah.
song.
It's always so wonderful to see an artist that you love before they blow up, but it's especially rewarding when their breakthrough moment is one of their greatest songs. Like this song is just pretty impeccable from a writing perspective, from a production perspective, from a vocal perspective. It's a hard song to sing. And that vocal performance is just absolutely incredible. The melody of the chorus is just pretty stratospheric. And I love so much that in a year that has been scary in a lot of ways, um, one of the biggest songs and one of the most celebrated cultural moments is a song from a lesbian artist singing about an hyper specific queer situation. There's no hiding around metaphor. There's no, opaqueness. Like it's very clearly a song about a woman singing about another woman who's afraid to admit that she's gay. And like that is just so cool that it is such a huge moment. And it's also impeccable. So yeah, I just love all the love that Chappell Roan has been receiving. My number
I
four.
will never forget the day that song came out. Because it had like it came out and then like it wasn't really that big until like a month after it came out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a
And
build.
I remember we were because we all liked her when the song came out, so we were all anticipating. And I remember the day that song came
Hmm.
out, I probably listened to it like 80 times.
Oh, I think
We were
I did.
all talking about it.
I
Like,
remember the Drew collapse on that day so vividly.
Drew
yeah.
collapse. The Drew
I was
collapse.
like on the bus and I was like, whoa, 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 what is happening?
The other thing too that's so great about it is that in one song, she did Marina and the Diamonds better than Marina and the Diamonds has ever done.
So dirty.
And I say that as somebody who loves a lot of Marina, but she perfected the yodel in a way that Marina has yet to. So let's
Yeah.
just say that. My number four was so surprising. I was not anticipating this being a big moment for me. It's "Angel of My Dreams" by Jade. So this is the debut solo single by Jade, who is obviously a part of the British girl group Little Mix, which is usually one of the biggest girl groups of all time, specifically in the UK. And like, I like songs by Little Mix, but I never anticipated a song by one of their members being this good, this original, this daring, this weird. Angel of My Dreams, it's one of my favorite kinds of pop songs because it never goes the way that you think it's going to go. It always zigs when you expect it to zag. It changes the kind of song that it is multiple times. It's almost like a Frankenstein style of a song. And I think it works so well because every single section of it is so good. And then I think it kind of reflects this very complicated emotion that she's talking about, which is, this very tumultuous experience with fame and kind of, not loving being famous and being in a girl group and having those expectations put on you, but also not being able to resist it. And just I think the melodies in here are out of this world. So super excited for all the Jade that we are going to be receiving. And I think out of all of those little mixed girls, no shade to anyone, but to me, she is the one that's like, okay, like she's the one. So my number three is a song that I've mentioned before in the podcast, but it was too big for me not to mention. It is Slugger by Sasami. It was my hot track, I believe, back in October. And yeah, this song just to me was so like instant classic. It literally was like when I listened to it for the first time, it felt like it had always existed, which is my favorite kind of pop song. And it was good enough to make me, just based on that song alone, not only pre-order the vinyl, but pre-order a signed special edition vinyl because it gagged me so much. And every song that she's released from the album since then has gagged me as well. So super excited for that record that's going to be coming out in March. Um, my number two, my list would not be complete without it. The revelation of the year, the oracle sent from the heavens, God speaking through prophet, the rewriting of the Bible, the newest testament, and that is Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae. Oh,
But okay, can I say my biggest question going to this
yeah.
conversation was, is he gonna do Aquamarine or Diet
It was
Pepsi?
hard.
Yeah.
It was very, very hard.
But Diet
Like
Pepsi is just that it, yeah.
my thing is, I think that like I am more of an aquamarine person because it's a mermaid song and I'm a mermaid. But like ultimately, like Diet Pepsi's just it's Diet Pepsi. Like it's Diet Pepsi. I never in a million years would have believed that my number two song of the year would be by a former TikToker. Like ever. And I liked like the music that she released before this, but like the songs that she's released this year, like this is not what the music released by like an influencer trying to be a musician is supposed to sound like. These
Hmm.
songs are too interesting. The song structures are too unconventional and weird. There's so much personality happening. They're too cool and moody. It's just so surprising. It's really revelatory to me. I mean, who hasn't lost their innocence in the backseat this year? I have. I mean, it's kind of everything. It's the whole universe to me. So, Diet Pepsi, you were so beloved here. And I got it immediately. By the way, got it immediately.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't finish the song at first,
yeah, which is
but
horrible.
Oh.
then I got it. Well, this is all my fault. I didn't get to the key change. And you have
Mm.
to get to the key change for the song to make sense. You have to give it the full chance, obviously.
Well, the song made sense to me from second one. So,
Right.
actually, there's
Second
that.
one.
Um, okay, and then my number one, this was really hard because this artist's album was super huge for me. And I was really wrestling back and forth about whether to include it on the album list or the song list, because it would have been very, very high on the album list. But ultimately, the impact of this song was too much for me to ignore. And so my number one song is Girl So Confusing featuring Lord by Charlie XCX. I mean, Brat has been such a cultural and musical moment, and I'm so happy for all of the success that Charlie's received. She's an artist I've loved for so long, and I'm just so happy that she's finally had this breakthrough moment, especially since it's been on her own terms. But the song was already incredible. It was already one of my highlights on the Brat version. But let's be real, the reason why this is number one is because of Lord. The writing that Lord does on her verse, it's it's that video of Oprah going, okay, watch this. Watch me gagging. That was me at like 2 a.m. in my bed listening to this song for the first time. I was just gonna be like, yeah, I'm just gonna listen to it real quick before I finally fall asleep. Okay, so that was stupid because I was awake for an hour listening to it. Uh, it it's it reminded me so much of why I love Lord. I mean, Lord is one of my favorite artists. She's one of my favorite writers. And I love Solar Power, but like this to me was like, okay, this is Lord. Like who nobody is writing like this. And it's just self-defense till you're building a weapon. Nobody is at that level. So, um, and then it's also just like the meta-ness of the song that like they literally are working it out in the remix. It is these two artists like hashing it out in real time that it just adds to it. It's such a unique story in kind of musical history. I don't think we've ever experienced anything specifically like this.
I don't think any other remix will ever be like topped.
No. Mm-mm. And it's
Unless like Kanye Taylor remix.
yeah, I mean literally. Like yeah. Like maybe on Reputation, Taylor's version will get "Look What You Made Me Do" featuring Ye, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Oh
Um,
my God,
But
imagine.
like even then, I don't think Kanye
do what Lord did.
could
No, he
do what
couldn't.
Lord did.
He couldn't.
So
He
yeah.
couldn't. And also, like, it's different because this is such a nuanced, like,
Yeah.
situation between Charlie and Lord, where Kanye West is evil and
Well, yeah, and it's also
Taylor's a princess.
like I don't know, like Levi, you might have been in the loop on this, but I didn't know that they were feuding until that song came out.
No, I don't really think a lot of people knew. I mean, I think that like they'd always been compared to each other and kind of like lumped together. I don't think there had any been like any
Yeah.
confirmation about like the actual
Which
status of
also
their
made it so
friendship.
much better.
But it's so great because it's not even a feud. It's like such a complicated, complex
Right. Yeah.
feeling,
It was.
and it's so relatable. Like I think everybody's had. I mean, for me, I've been on both sides of the situation. I've had moments where I'm like Charlie, and I'm like, I don't understand like what you think about me. Like, are we friends? Do we hate each other? I can't find a read on you. Like, it's so weird. And then a lot of the times I'm also the Lord. Like, I am somebody so lost in my own head and dealing so like heavily with like my own like personal wars going on in my mind that like I don't realize that, oh my God, this feeling that I've been feeling, this like self-loathing, is actually like affecting other people. And I never would have thought that in a million years. So yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our songs. Now we're gonna go to albums.
I also love how like all of our songs, like we did this all separately, but in a way, we're all just kind of like communicating with each other because there wasn't really any overlap. And like I somehow did Sympathy as a Knife and you did. Anyway,
All the sympathy is just a
Levi knife.
leave a knife when
okay. I'm like very excited about my albums list. I'm really excited because my 5 and 4 slots are like when we're thinking about the whole year in general with albums, they're honestly like kind of lower. But I'm really happy that I get to mention them in the episode. So, my number 5 is by an artist I've talked about on the pod. But her album was like one of my faves and probably one of my most listened to as well. She was my number 6 artist of this year. And the album is Older by Lizzie McAlpine. Um, yeah, I've liked her for a bit. Like I listened to her very first album in the pandemic. I remember Ben Platt posted about her and I like listened to it and I really liked it. But it wasn't something that I came back to, and that was kind of what happened with her. I guess I think they called it her debut album, but it wasn't. 5 Seconds Flat, which was kind of where she kind of went more mainstream. That was another situation where the album I listened to it first and didn't come back to ever really. But with Older, I thought it was going to be that way because I listened to it and I didn't come back to it. But actually, a friend that I work with was talking about how much she loves her and how much she like loves this album in particular. And she was doing a Lollapalooza after show, and I thought it would be fun to go because I love her voice, rather if I liked her album or not. And I really loved watching her perform. Um, yeah, she like has an unbelievable voice. Very like um Broadway kind of motivated. Um, but yeah, I and watching her because she performs her set was she kind of performed the album front to back and they just kind of put in a couple of her hits from other albums in the set. But how she performed was insane. It was literally just her like sitting down, not really kind of recognizing the audience and like putting on headphones and just kind of singing the songs like she would in a studio. Um, but yeah, I have literally come back to her this album in particular so much since I saw her live. So yeah, I definitely think it's her best album. It's definitely a departure from her first two, which I think made a lot of people kind of stray away from it, but I really liked it. And I loved the bonus tracks that she put out as well. So yeah, Lizzie, Miss Lizzie, number 5. And I'm really excited. I hope I get to see her on Broadway next year. So yeah. My number 4 is one that I was really excited made the list. Would have never thought that this would have made the list. But it's CXOXO,
yeah, I wanted you to mention it.
by Camila Cabello. Crazy. So I did not. I have an interesting relationship with this artist and with this album. I didn't like her. Um, the lead single. I love it. I did not like it at first. I
Yeah,
did
I
not
would
love
I
it.
would like to mention that in the Pop Girlies group chat there was only one utensil who
Yeah.
understood I love it. Um,
And I
let's
still think
just
it's
say that.
probably bottom half for me on the album, but I've come around thinking that it's good. Um, but no, I love this album from her. I think I love when artists kind of do different things. Um, with their sound. And yeah, I think it's really cool, to be honest. I have really been into it. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to talk about for it, to be honest. I'm just really glad that I got to mention it because I went from like Camila has had a really interesting kind of relationship with me because I used to really like her. Like when she first came out and debuted, I really liked her. And then kind of with the whole her and Sean being annoying on social media, I was like, okay, I can't with her. She's like my least favorite. And then I came around to Romance, which was an album that we definitely will have to do an episode for. Um, but I really loved that album, but it flopped. So then it was like the public was just not on my side with that. And then I didn't really come around to any of her other music until that album came out. So this CXOXO. So yeah. Number four, Camila. So my number three. So these next three albums are my top three albums of the year, like opposed to any song, any of that. Um, so my number three is the Tortured Poets Department. Love her. Um, yeah, just kind of went like reiterating everything I said in the episode. If you haven't listened to that episode, it was a really good one, so go check it out. Um, yeah, I just think it was a really cool thing for her to do. It's a Taylor Swift album, so it's obviously gonna make um my top. She's like my second favorite artist ever, so yeah. Love Tortured Poets. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about it later. Um, my number two is an album that I loved so much. It's Deeper Well by Casey Musgraves. Britt Casey is like if there was a tie for second place album, I mean artist, she would be in the second place. Always loved her. Golden Hour is my favorite album of all time. But Deeper Well, it was like one of those. It got released at the kind of I think it was March, so it was kind of one of those where you could listen to it and then kind of come back to it to the end of the year. And it was really nice to come back to it because I saw her live in September and it was nice to kind of see how she performed all of them live. But yeah, I think this is like probably my second favorite album by her. Just love the way that she was able to like create an environment with the songs. I don't think she's really done that before. Like she really took me to I mean, where she has all the visual set, like it kind of has this like Icelandic, Irish kind of feel to it. Very folksy, like not a lot of her albums have really delved into. So yeah, love Deeper Well. Um, so yeah, and then my number one is Short and Sweet. We talked about it in the episode, and I kind of hinted that it would be a number one, and it did end up making my number one. And yeah, kind of the same thing that I mentioned in the episode. It was the narrative of it, I think shot this so much higher. Like it, had I not had this relationship with her as an artist, like I remember I was, um, my Twitter, I have it on private and I like, no one follows me, but I was, looking through my old tweets and I saw like a Pop Crave tweet about like, her releasing like another song off of like emails I can't send. And I remember like I tweeted like, who cares? And so my like narrative of like that to her being my number one album in like a year and a half's worth of time is so funny. But yeah, she's like so deserving of her flowers. Yeah, it's definitely like a kind of me kind of pop album. Like I love the lyricism that she has, like the kind of stupid funny and her vocal performance is obviously insane. And her pen's great too. So yeah, it hits on all kind of levels for me. Besides like not 1,000% the visuals, but the chosen visuals, I should say. Um, so yeah, short and sweet, number one.
Tea.
Mic drop.
Wonderful. Yay. Everyone's cheering.
Yeah, everyone's cheering. Okay, cool. So I'll go into my albums list. And again, I'm a big, big album listener. So I this is definitely my list of albums that I spent the most time with. I'd say I'm like a lot more confident about like my 1 through 3 rather than like what I put for 4 and 5. Because like the
That's
top
how I
three,
was too.
yeah, the top three definitely overtook their year, and then I'm like, okay, let me go back and think about some other things. But I will say that my fifth album of the year is a group that I delved a little bit more into this year. They're definitely akin to like a Daft Punk, like whenever we're talking about the kind of French electronic DJ kind of sound. I mean, Daft Punk definitely tops that list, and then I think usually what the group that comes in at number two is a group that's called Justice. Um, and they released an album this year that's called Hyperdrama that I really, really liked. All the singles were so, so good. There's a couple of collabs with Kevin Parker of Tame Impala. Those are all really cool. But this album I really, really liked. It just has such a really cool, um, just like very bombastic kind of electronic sound. It seems I haven't listened to their entire discography, but it seems like in the lineup of all of their albums, this one, people were like, "Oh, it sounds a little bit too clean. It's a little bit too this and that," but whatever, in my opinion. I really liked it. So that's my number five. My number four is an album that is from this group that's called Hiatus Coyote, which is kind of like an acid jazz kind of fusion group that I got really into this year. Their whole discography is so, so cool. And the lead singer has such an interesting voice, and their songs are just so like so intricate. There's so much going on. Like some of the songs are obviously a little bit more mellow, but the ones that have a lot going on are just so interesting. And all of the singles that they released from this album I really, really loved. And that the release that they had this year is an album called Love Heart Cheat Code. Really cool. I thought they were super cool. I loved listening to their entire discography this year, and I really liked their new album. So that's gonna be four for me. Number three, already mentioned it before. I had a big moment with it, obviously at the start of the year when it was released, and beginning of this year in general, also coming off of the film release of the Renaissance movie, just had like a really big Beyonce moment at the start of this year. So obviously it was just like hip hip hooray, new Beyonce album at the start of the year too. So it's gonna be Cowboy Carter at number three. Obviously, the release of a different album this year kind of overtook it for the remainder of the year. But I mean, Beyonce kind of just keeps releasing Magnum Opie back to back. So it's like just incredible music after incredible music. So love listening to Cowboy Carter. I mean, like Drew and I like live texted each other the night it came out. I stayed up so late that night. So yeah, was a hoot.
Did you watch the halftime?
I haven't watched it in its entirety just yet, but I saw like the highlights and it
I
looked
loved it. I
like,
thought she did so
yeah,
amazing. Levi, did you watch
it
it?
looks really great.
Same as Maria. I haven't watched the full thing yet.
Yeah. I almost missed my flight because I stayed to watch it.
Right.
Well, I didn't like really almost miss it. Like I got to my gate 10 minutes before I was supposed to board, so kind of. But yeah, I loved it. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what she's doing with this announcement. Do you guys have any theories or
I
I
think it's
guess we
gonna
can
be
like
act.
say
I think it's gonna be. She's gonna announce Act
I
Three,
do too. And I think
Yeah.
she's gonna announce the tour with Act 3.
and I think the tour is gonna be like an Act Two, Act Three tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think that Cowboy Carter's getting its own tour.
If
No.
it is that, I'd be like a little like, what
Yeah,
are we
because it's
doing
like,
here?
why wait a year to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then Act 3 is gonna happen, and then we're gonna have to wait another year for the
Yeah, it just
Act
it.
3
I think
tour.
it makes and it makes more sense to like have like 2 years in between the tour
Yeah.
rather than like Renaissance tour, then 2 years later Cowboy Carter tour, and then a tour
Yeah.
the next year or like whatever. It just doesn't
Yeah.
make as much sense.
Yeah. Or maybe like is there still any hope for like maybe a residency, like a sphere thing? No?
Oh yeah, because I saw those rumors. I don't know. I think it's gonna be because also that font didn't look familiar to me, and
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah.
and I also think like the significance of her waving the American flag and then it
Yeah.
disappearing behind the horse. To
Yes.
me, that
Yeah.
signaled like, okay, we are
Well,
leaving
and
Americana and we're riding the horse to another direction.
well, and the people found the promo like the is it like Black Betty? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
what the and that is like a really good rock song. Do you guys know that song, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Like, what if she covers that? Girl. Ascension.
I'm sorry. The only thing I need on a rock album is Haley Williams. You need to pick up the phone if Beyonce is
Yes.
calling you.
Haley Williams, Alanis. Get Alanis on.
Oh,
Oh,
oh my God.
oh,
I would love like a Stevie moment too, like that kind of.
Yes. Well, and she's covered Alanis on a tour. Like she's done a whole tour with an Alanis cover on the set list, I
Oh,
believe.
really?
Yeah, I think it was on the tour she did for Four, Miss Carter. I think, or it was one of the on the runs, but she has done an Alanis cover like on a full tour before. So I would not
Okay.
be shocked if
that's really
she
tea.
asked her to do it.
Yeah, that is tea.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Could you
But yeah,
imagine?
yeah. And it's like I was talking to someone about this earlier, but it's like for Act 3, I am so solidified in my own belief that it's 100% going to be rock that I like can't even entertain the possibility of it being a different genre because I know people started to talk about that a little bit after the Christmas Day performance.
I think
So,
Brittany Broski is the only one who has brought this on to like a public conversation. Because Brittany Broski thinks that it's either going to be rock or rap.
yeah, she
Is
was
that
like
the other ones
saying,
that you have heard?
yeah, I know people are saying like reggae, like people were throwing
Oh,
reggae out there.
oh, okay.
But I haven't seen the whole performance, so I'm not 100% sure why. Because I know people had like very specific evidence that they were pointing to
Oh,
for it.
okay.
So I don't know. But
I didn't get that from watching it, but
yeah,
I've also only watched it the one time. So I
right. And
yeah.
apparently the version that aired live has different cuts than the version that they put on Netflix. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of Easter egging there, but like
I think they
whatever. It's the
cut
Beyonce of it all.
when it was because there were some cuts of the live performance, and like I'm not here to like shame whatever, but there were a lot of cuts in the live performance where you could tell she was lip syncing for parts, and I bet you that's what they
Mm.
kind of cut out. There are parts that she was not lip syncing for sure, but I sorry Beyonce if you're listening to this, but I clocked.
Yeah,
Sorry, Blue Ivy, if you're
Beyonce's an
listening.
avid Pop Girlies listener.
Yeah, but I
Well,
did
really,
clock. And
it's
I'm
really
sorry.
Solange. Solange got her
Yeah.
Solange introduced.
But yeah. So I bet you because I was like, ooh, like the the camera blocking wasn't sharp enough for the lip syncing to be blocked, but
Ooh,
I bet you that's what that it's worth for.
yeah. Okay, so number three is Cowboy Carter. And my number two is an artist that I have mentioned on the podcast before, one of the first ones that isn't directly pop related. And it's the new album that Fontaine's DC released this year, and it's their album called Romance, which I love, love, love. It's definitely a different departure for them as far as the music that they've released previously. A lot of their previous music leans like a lot more into like a rock, punk, garagey kind of sound. So this album for them, um, it has like a very strong orchestral kind of theatrical vibe, which is very cool, but obviously still leans into their original rock sound. So love this album. They're such a cool band. The lead singer has such a cool voice. And they're Irish, so it's just cool hearing people sing in Irish accents. It's such a treat.
You're
Um,
not thinking about our boy.
yeah. But I will say, hate, hate, hate this album cover.
Okay, you
It,
mentioned that on our first step. I like the album cover actually.
I don't.
I
I think
haven't seen
the
it.
color story is
I think
cool,
it's cool. I'm gonna be
but
so
I
real with
don't.
you, Maria. I really like it.
I think I would like it a lot more if the heart on the album cover didn't have a face. I don't really like the face that's on it.
Oh, I think it's cool and I like the font.
Oh, the font's lovely.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm gonna be so real.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like this too. It looks like something that I've seen before though.
All right.
Yeah, so basically what we're saying, Maria, is you're dumb and stupid.
You're dumb and
But
stupid, and
wait,
we like this artist more than you.
Yeah, we actually
I don't know
well,
what
I
it
am Fontaine's
is.
DC.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what, Drew?
It looks like an album cover that I've seen before, and I don't know what it is. It kind of gives me like Halsey Hopeless Fountain Kingdom vibes,
It's a
but it's
similar font, I think.
yeah.
Oh, it's like the same
I
font.
get you though. The face is kind of like okay,
I don't like the face. I think if it didn't have a face, I'd be like, I would have no like ill feelings
but then
towards
it would
it.
be too plain if it didn't have the face.
I don't know.
I don't
Whatever.
know.
whatever. But love the font, and I think the color story is also cool. So whatever. But love the album. It's so good. Highly recommend. And then my number one album is for me, I mean, for a second I kind of toyed with like, well, not as of recently, but throughout the course of the year, I was like, Cowboy Carter, I think is just gonna be like default number one. And then I had to sit and think about it for a little bit longer. But this album, I think definitely just kind of overtakes everything for the year. And I'm very grateful that I also got to experience a lot of it live and then a lot of it out and like dancing in the club in Scarlet. So that was a whole lot of fun. So yeah, this was like very much a through line throughout the whole year for me. And it's obviously Brat by Charlie XCX.
Yay, everyone cheered.
Everyone cheered.
Yay.
So Yash, let's hear from Levi.
So this was really hard for me. Actually, this was really, really hard for me. And I'm going to be so honest. The only spot that I knew was number one. Everything else has changed multiple times. Um, it was really, really hard for me to come up with this list, actually. And I think that's because there was a lot of music that I loved. And like, there's artists that like I had to leave off of both my lists, which sucks, but it just didn't, for whatever reason, didn't, push past the precipice or whatever.
I kind of had a question that I wanted to ask both of you, kind of related to that, Levi.
Yeah.
Like, did you guys notice, like, there was obviously a huge amount of releases by, like, artists? Like, I think every artist pretty much released, besides people who had released last year. Did you guys find it hard that, like, there were a lot of albums that I thought were just really, really good, but there were very few that were, like, 9.5 and above?
I felt that as well. Yeah, I
Okay.
because there were a lot of albums that were like I really really like this album, but it was hard to like. That's kind of why it was a struggle for me to come up with a
Yeah.
definitive list because like my number one, who knows what it's gonna be, but it was just a clear standout for me.
Right.
But then everything else, I was like, yeah, like it really kind of could go either ways, and it changed. I made multiple versions of this list that I'm about to share.
Okay. Okay. I was wondering that because I was like, there were a lot of things that I feel like were so good, but maybe because of the volume of albums that came out. But then I was like, well, maybe everything that came out was just like really, really good, but not like astronomically good. But yeah, sorry. Just wanted to ask that.
Okay, so my number five is The Secret of Us by Gracie Abrams. Absolutely adore this album. Gracie is an artist that I've loved since 2021, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, after being a hater. The song Rockland is the one that kind of got me like, whoa, 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 whoa. I think that her songwriting on this record is really insane, and I think that it shows off an exuberance and vibrance that we hadn't really seen from her yet. Like there's so much more energy in these songs, and I think she's kind of funny in a lot of these songs, and you can especially see that on the deluxe song that's blown up. That's so true. Like it's showing us a side of her that we hadn't seen on Good Riddance or This Is What It Feels Like. Uh, yeah, I think my favorite Gracie song of all time. One of them is on here. I knew it. I knew it. I know you. Um, yeah, it's a great album. There's versions of this list where it was higher, but in this moment now,
T.
like there was a version of this list where this was like my number two, but in the version of this list that I landed on this morning, this is where it is.
Her albums are huge growers too. So
They are,
if you're
and
listening and you haven't come around to it yet, like you'll probably come around to it at some
she's
point.
not an artist that hits immediately.
Yeah.
Almost it's very rare for a song by her for me to be an immediate attention grabber. But honestly, I think that's one of her strengths because that means that
Yeah.
such sturdiness in the foundations of her music. So yeah, love The Secret of Us, and I'm really, really happy
Love.
having this moment. And I'm also just gonna while I have a podcast, so I'm gonna say this. I don't understand why Twitter wants her to die. Like, I do
I
not
don't
understand
either.
this trend
I
of her like being like publicly executed every single day. What
well,
It's
is
a
and
it's
happening?
a
she's
little
so
bit
nice.
ridiculous. It's really
Like,
ridiculous.
And like my okay, something I saw that really fucking annoyed me is this I'm guessing a dumb gay person was like they posted her SNL video and it's like, what the heck? We want pop stars who can sing and dance and perform. Like, what is this? First of all, that's not every single pop star is not Lady Gaga, okay? That is a kind of pop star, but that is not every single kind of pop star. And that, I mean, that's the same criticism that gets hurled at Taylor that drives me insane. It's like videos of her being silly on stage and then comparing it with like Beyonce being like an incredible dancer. And it's like, oh, this is who you're comparing to Beyonce. It's like nobody's saying that she's doing the same thing. It's different. Artists can be different. They can do different things from each other.
Well,
Did I
and she
know we
did
had to go
not
back to fucking preschool?
she
ABC
didn't
1, 2, 3.
Literally.
she did not also like saying that she is like a pop girl is
It's
like
not
also
really
kind
true.
of
Yeah,
yeah,
she's not
she very much came up in like the alternative
like
kind of landscape.
singer-songwritery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hate
It
that.
it's so
Also,
confusing to me.
she like I know people who like don't like her are gonna be shocked when I say this. She literally is so much better live, and
She
I
is.
know that
That's the
some
thing
things
too.
have led
She's a
her to
great
believe
vocalist.
otherwise.
She's a great performer.
But yeah, like I there are a couple of performances that she's like released as versions where I'm like, okay, like maybe maybe we shouldn't have done that because it wasn't her best moment. But like watching her live is like another thing.
I'm gonna be real though. I thought she was great in SNL. I thought both
Oh,
performances
same.
were terrific.
I'm referencing she released a That's So True live recording from Radio City.
I
I
haven't
don't know
seen
if you've don't listen to it
it. Okay.
because she cracks like 3 or 4 times and they didn't edit it out.
No, she's an amazing. The first time I saw her live was with Drew. We went
Yeah.
to the Good Riddance tour at House of Blues. Do you remember the bridge of "This is what the drugs are for" when we like
Yes. Also, I
ascended
Should
into the
Hate
heavens?
You.
Yeah, I should hate you. I feel stupid, like I almost crashed my car.
I also saw the first time I saw her live was with Maria actually.
Yeah,
I think was that the
Yeah, that was
yeah,
at
that
the
was the first
Metro.
time. Yeah. And it was before This Is What It Feels Like came out.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was like in
And
2022.
we'll never see her in a
Yeah, the really intense hate for her is like really ridiculous. Like I get that she's not for everybody, but like I think people need to slow the roll a little bit. But it's also like if Paul Mescal is sipping the greasy espresso, like then I think we can all
Okay, and
relax.
it's the other thing too, where okay, now that we're really spilling some tea, uh, I love gay people. I love Twitter. I love internet culture, but people don't realize that they live in such a bubble. And like, I think, okay, Brat to me is an example of this because Brat has undeniably been like a huge cultural moment. But there are legions of gay people on Twitter who think that it's bigger than it is because it's the only thing that they know or talk about. And like they are unable to put in their brains that other people have different tastes in music. Like I have seen people say that Brat was bigger than 1989. Like genuinely, which is just, I'm sorry, factually incorrect and fucking stupid. Let's just say that. Okay.
Let's just
Uh,
say that.
it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, it's one of those things that drives me crazy that it's like people being like, oh my God, Gracie Abrams so horrible, horrible. Some people like guitar based music. Some people like songwriting like that, confessional, diaristic songwriting. Some people like really interesting vocals. Also, I think Charlie XCX fans are very, very bold for coming for people's vocals. I would not.
I
People,
actually think that Charlie is a better vocalist than like Adele.
oh,
No, I'm kidding.
I
Satire,
mean,
satire, satire.
people
You're
in glass
so right
houses should not
though.
throw stones, mama.
Can I also say, while we're talking about the success of Brat, I do kind of think, and this could also prove me wrong, but I kind of think she's misstepping right now with these arena shows. Do you do you guys think that too?
I don't really understand them, to be honest
I
with
don't
you.
either.
But I'm also like, you do you, queen.
Okay, okay. And maybe it'll come around like maybe she'll like win a bunch of Grammys and then like
I
it'll be
think
like a
she really
celebration
just
of
wants
that.
to capitalize on the moment.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of thought that Sweat was going to be like the
That's what
pinnacle
yeah.
of that. But then, I mean, I guess if they have the data that she can do the arena tours on her own, then that's great. It was a little confusing to me, though, especially because she'd been
I just
talking
hope
about
it's
like
different.
the Brat tour, like era kind of being over soon and like her focusing more on acting and stuff. And so that's why I was kind of confused about that. But to me, it's not a misstep. It's just something that I don't really fully grasp. But I'm like,
Yeah.
work,
I'm
slay.
hoping that it's completely different than Sweat and it presents like a different concept.
Yeah, I
in
was gonna
the
say that. I
show.
think it needs, I think, not that it needs to, but it really should be completely different. Like if it's the same like scaffolding set, then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I'd also love to see like what she can do because like I mean obviously I didn't go to the sweat tour because I was ill, which was horrible. But I know that like Troy was the one who was primarily using like the dancers and like all of that stuff because like so much of Charlie is like her just like being crazy and her energy, but like I would love to see what she could do with some of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, she used no dancers at all.
I would love like to see like what like a Charlie XCX like wardrobe change looks like and like you know like that I think would be really interesting.
Yeah.
So I hope it is different.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Tangent,
And
tangent,
again, this
tangent.
is not I obviously love Brat so much and Brat is such an important album to me and I think it's incredible, but I just do have to say that I think some people are getting a little too big for their britches and I think they need to be knocked down a few pegs because okay, you know, words have meanings and there are facts and objectivity and like saying that Brat is bigger than fucking 21 by Adele or the Fame Monster is just not true. It's just not
nope.
true, and it's okay, and it doesn't take away from the success and the acclaim and the importance of Brat. So, I just had to say that Gracie Abrams, can be a refugee in Pop Girlies Nation anytime when people are being mad at you. Come to us, open border. Okay, my number four is an album that to me is so fascinating. I don't really understand it at all, and it has an opaqueness that I love because every time I listen to it, I come away with different feelings. I come away with different favorite songs. I come away with different interpretations. And I kind of get, and it's almost like my brain gets foggy and hazy. Like I listen to this album and I'm like, oh my God, I love it. And then when I finish it and go away, I like don't remember anything about it. But I love that. It's like this mystical hazy miragey cloud in the distance that's blue and sparkling and then I'm kind of running towards. And of course that album is if you didn't get from that super obvious metaphor, it is Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay. First of all, best album cover of the year, hands down for me. Easily best album cover of the year. I love this album. This album is so weird, so interesting. The production is incredible. The lead singer has such an interesting voice and her vocal performance is so intriguing to me. Like lyrically, I love it, and it's just something that like it's. I don't really know what to make of it a lot, but I love that quality about it. Um, and I find it really really fascinating. There's never a time when I'm listening to it that I don't find it 1000% compelling. There was another version of this list where this was higher up, but I decided on this placement because it doesn't have the replay value that the albums above it have. But I love this record. Okay, my number three is Deeper Well by Casey Musgraves. Uh, Such an incredible album. Casey's an artist I've loved for a really long time. I obviously love Golden Hour. I think Star Crossed, Jesus, is very underrated. It's very, very good. But Deeper Well, I would also agree with Drew is my second fave from her. There's just this warmth and this like folky charm throughout this record that I absolutely love. I think the production is beautiful. I think that her ruminations and introspection on this record is incredible. I love the relationship that this album has with nature. To me, this album is like lush green. It's like lush green grass fields and like moss growing over like stones and it's big, big trees in a forest. It's like very pastoral in a way that I find very compelling. And there are just some of my favorite moments of music this past year are on this album. Um, I can't wait. We need to talk about this album at some point. I mean, we need to have
Yeah.
a moment.
I got for Christmas I got the box set that came with the candle.
Oh,
And you
cool.
gotta smell the candle because it like literally I was like,
Does
oh
it
my
smell like?
gosh.
Does it smell like deep?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's a really incredible album.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm really happy. I feel like because I feel like she obviously had such a huge moment with Golden Hour, and then Starcrossed didn't really like have that same kind of resonance. And I think she got a lot more like this was a lot more resonant with people, and I think people responded to it in a way that was uh, a lot bigger and more enthusiastic than Starcrossed, which made me really happy for her because she is such an incredible artist. She's one of the greatest Songwriters working, vocalists working. So yeah, absolutely adore this record. My number two, I'm so excited to be talking about her on this podcast. Uh, she's such an interesting artist. So she released one of my favorite albums of 2021, her debut album. She released an album in 2022 that I wasn't a huge fan of. I probably should give it another chance. I've tried it a few times. It's not my favorite. The sound is not my favorite. And then she disappeared. She did not. She canceled all tour dates. She kind of had a big like mental health break, and she like wiped away a presence from social media. She disappeared. Nobody knew what was she was doing, what was up, if she would ever make music again. And she said that she would never make. She didn't know if she'd ever make music again. So she's back. She appeared out of the blue this summer. Uh, she's an independent artist now, and I'm talking about the third studio album by Ash called Wilson. Ash is such a phenomenal songwriter. First of all, she went to the Berklee School of Music, and I think that you can really hear that in her compositions because her chord structures are so interesting. The chord patterns, the chord progressions that she uses are fascinating. She uses a lot of like music, like you can tell she's like aced music theory classes when you listen to albums of hers, with the way that she can manipulate chords to further emphasize the feelings and the situations that she's singing about. She has such like a 70s singer-songwriter kind of Laurel Canyon-y vibe that I absolutely adore. And I kind of think that this is my favorite album from her. I was just like really astonished. And I want to shout out one of my best friends, Irene, and Alex Wishi, two of my best friends. But Irene specifically has been such a warrior for this album and really encouraged me to listen to it because I put it off for a few weeks. I don't know why. I think something else was happening that um, I didn't listen to it for a few weeks. And Irene just kept being like, Wilson listening today. When are you going to listen to Wilson? Wilson, 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 Wilson. And I'm so happy that she did because I just am so astounded by the emotional depth in this album, the vulnerability. There's such like an honesty and a transparency that I really respond to. I think the production is really incredible. It's this like warmth acoustic mixed with some like synthetic elements that I think work really, really well. And I think it tells like a beautiful story of finding yourself after pain and devastation and, healing old wounds and learning how to avoid the darkness in your life and be kind of the best version of yourself that you can be. So it's a really incredible album. I think everyone should go listen to it if you haven't. And then my number one, I'm sure everybody is so surprised. It is um, the Tortured Poets Department. Yeah, I'm sorry. Fuck the haters. I already talked about it on the episode, but this is just it just is my album of the year. And again, I have like there was a moment where I was like, maybe is this gonna be the first year that like should I put Taylor at number two? Because like everyone's telling me that it's bad and Brat's so incredible and blah 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 blah. No, it just is my album of the year. Like it's everything I want from Taylor and more. It's endlessly fascinating. I come away with new things every single time I listen to it. The songwriting is just out of this world for me. The production is some of the best production that she's ever had in her career. It's everything in the whole universe for me. I had a life before the Tortured Poets Department and after the Tortured Poets Department, and the North will remember. The North remembers. I will count and check every motherfucker who has a turnaround on this album in 10 years, being like, oh my God, this album's so incredible. This is one of her best. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, duh. It's it's so good. It's so good. And if for the girls who get it. And if you don't get it, like I honestly feel bad for you. So yeah, this has been I've been a tortured poet all year, and I will be a tortured poet forever. This album has been so incredibly important to me and special. And it is just a reminder of why I love Taylor so much and why I'm so lucky that she's in my life. So yeah, love you, tortured poets.
Yes.
Oh my God, we did it.
We did it. Drew, wait, N- actually, never mind. Never mind.
Okay. What were you gonna say?
Well, because I got it wrong. Because I thought that for a second I remembered that Deeper Well was your number one, but then it wasn't. It's short and sweet. Because I was gonna say like
Yeah,
your number one was my number three, and then my number one was your number three, but then that's actually not
it
correct.
wasn't. Yeah.
That's actually not correct.
Dang.
But we have overlap, a bit of overlap.
Yeah.
Maria is bringing
I
genre
don't think,
representation that we do
yeah, I
not
don't,
dip our
yeah, I
toes
Hmm.
don't
in.
think,
Yep, that's right. You can always count on me for that.
But yeah, this is our
amaze.
end of year review. This has been such a special year in music, and obviously it's been special in a lot of other ways because this is the first year that we started this podcast and this journey. And I just want to take a second as the year's ending to thank everybody who has been listening to it.
Yes.
Like all my friends who listen to it, my family members who listen to it. I think Marie and Drew echo the same sentiments, and
Oh
also
yeah.
the random strangers who listen to it because the person in Sweden, we love you so much.
We love,
We love you, Stockholm Pop Girly. Like you are everything to us.
yeah.
It just this has just been so
It's
special
just a
to do
bot.
with the three of you, and I'm just really grateful that we did this. So yeah,
Yes, me
20,
too. Oh,
2024 is very special for that reason.
love the girlies.
Yes.
Okay,
More
everyone.
content in 2025.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
eternity.
Happy New Year's, and thank you so much for being a Pop Girly.
Happy
Yeah.
night.
Bye.
Shanti.
Shanti.